I have faith.
If faith is a belief in a higher power,
I got faith in the big guy upstairs.
Florida spiritual leaders are trusting the governor's own faith will be enough to convince him to back off a crackdown he ordered aimed at unaccompanied migrant children.
It's not a political issue for us. It's an issue of humanity. It's an issue of compassion.
Pastor Joel Tooley leads a church in Melbourne, is a longtime immigrant advocate and part of a Christian coalition for bipartisan solutions to immigration reform. He's also leading the charge behind this letter sent to Governor Ron DeSantis Thursday night.
We can't wait for this to get worse. We have to speak. We have to act now.
Signed by hundreds of faith-based leaders from around the state, it asked the governor to withdraw an executive order he signed ordering the state's Department of Children and Families not to renew the licenses of federally funded shelters here that care for unaccompanied migrant kids as part of a decades-old federal program. The letter states in part, vulnerable children, regardless of where they are born, have the right and inherent dignity to receive love and care. Florida should not be the one saying there is no room at the inn. For Tooley, it's both biblical and personal. He operated a shelter for unaccompanied teenage boys before it was abruptly closed under the Obama administration.
We have a responsibility to care for these kids, no matter how they come, no matter what their background is.
This letter is the latest opposition to an ongoing feud we were first to expose back in November. That's when we discovered the state had stopped renewing the licenses of Florida foster families and shelters caring for migrant children, many of them faith-based. The Sarasota Center had to relocate nearly 60 children in its care because the state refused to renew its state license over the order the governor described as his crackdown against Biden's border crisis.
I want our resources focused on needs for Florida kids and the needs we have in our communities.
Since then, the state adopted new rules for these shelters, limiting the number of children they can care for and requiring the feds enter an agreement detailing more about the children being sent here before they arrive, though the state has yet to clarify what many of those details mean.
It seems like what these co-op agreements are designed to do is actually slow down the process of getting kids who need care into licensed shelters quickly.
Bree Stenstrud leads a group of evangelical Christian women who advocate for immigrants and refugees. Her group also signed the letter and believes instead of forcing these shelters shut, Florida is missing an opportunity to help the thousands of Florida children also in need of care.
What would that look like to flood the foster care system with willing and able families who then, when these migrant children are reunified with their families, that they're still in the system and then trained up and ready to go, vetted and ready to go to take in a Floridian child to make a permanent placement there.
Last summer, the governor of Texas took similar action to close shelters housing migrant kids there, but eventually backed off.
Is this a new trend among Republican governors?
I hope not. It seems to be kind of this carrying on of a Trump-style rejection of migrants coming to the U.S.
I know that he does have a history of being a man of faith.
I got faith in the big guy upstairs.
I am trusting that our Catholic and Jewish and Christian and Hindu and Muslim faith community will have some influence on him and his decision, and that we'll see him act accordingly to care for the children in our society that we've been entrusted with.
Last week, we told you about another letter sent to the governor, this time by the feds, seeking clarity on some of these new rules. The feds tell us they have yet to get a response. Meantime, shelter leaders are growing concerned that without answers, their licenses will stop getting renewed beginning next month. Katie LaGrone for the Florida 24 Network.